Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about converting decimals to fractions. So we've already talked about converting fractions to decimals, so we're going to go the other way tonight. Converting a decimal to a fraction. To convert a decimal to a fraction, there's just a couple of easy steps. The first thing we're going to do is to write this as a fraction, and we talked about before how the proper way to say this would be 26 hundredths. So I'm going to write it as a fraction, 26 hundredths. So since there are two decimal places, this would be tenths, this would be hundredths. So since there's two, it's 26 over 100. You can kind of remember that because as many place values as there are after the decimal point, you're going to have that many zeros. So technically, I just wrote that decimal as a fraction. But we also want to reduce the fraction. So I'm going to take 26 over 100 and I'm going to divide it. And in this case, I'm going to divide it by 2, and I have to divide the top and the bottom by 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50, and 26 divided by 2 is 13, so I end up with 13 over 50. Now, if 13 and 50 were both divisible by something, I would do that again, and you might have to divide more than once or twice until you get it all the way to simplest form. But in this case, 2 is the most that would go into it, so 13 over 50 is my answer. Okay, let's try this one. Convert 0.325. So again, I want to say this right. So it's 325, and it is thousandths this time because I have 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So I have to have 3 zeros. So 325 thousandths. So I'm going to write that number and divide it. And each of these are divisible by 25. 325 divided by 25, and then 1,000 divided by 325, or by 25. 325 divided by 25 is 13. 325 divided by 25 is 13, and 1,000 divided by 25 is 40. So my simplified fraction is 13 over 40. So 0.325 is 13 over 40. Okay, so here's some more we're going to try. So let's look at 0.24. That is 24. Oh, you can't read that very well. Here we go. 24. Since there are two decimal places, I have to have 2 zeros. So it is 24 hundredths. 24 and 100 are both divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide the top by 4. I'm going to divide the bottom by 4. And 24 divided by 4 is 6. And 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 0.25 is 6 over 25. Now this one, I just have an 8, so I can just write 8 on the top. But it takes up 2 decimal places, so I still have to have 100 on the bottom, because I have to have a 0 for each decimal place. Not necessarily each number, but each decimal place. So I have 100 over 8. Again, 100 is divisible by 4, and so is 8. So that's what we're going to divide by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 0.08 or 8 hundredths is 22 over 25. Now, if I have a whole number in front, I'm actually just going to write my whole number down there in front of my fraction bar, and then I'm just going to, oops, I just want to look at just my decimal number, which in this case is 0.8. So it is 8 over, since there's one decimal place, I'm just going to put it over 10. 8 and 10 are both divisible by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my final answer is 1 4/5. So I don't really need to do anything with that whole number except just kind of hang on to it. So this one, same thing. We're going to just hang on to the 1 there, and we're going to deal with just this 0.83. So it is 83 over, and it's over 100 because I have 2 decimal places here. 1, 2, 2 decimal places, 2 zeros. And 83 doesn't have anything that will go into it. that 100 does. So I can't simplify that any more than that right there. 83 over 100. And that is it. That's all there is to changing a decimal to a fraction.